So I'm going to walk through three kind of interesting case studies that kind of relate to some of the topics that we've been talking about here. So the speed and impact of negative sentiment. These next case studies also are very, I think they're only 6 weeks old, each of the examples. I wanted to make sure that they're all fresh. So Urban Outfitters is a US leading retail chain. They've got a footprint in various global areas, again, $2 billion revenue a year. They're very active in the digital e-commerce side. Somebody, as in a jewelry designer, sent up a tweet on the 26th of May saying that, and accusing urban designers of ripping off one of her designs. So on that same day, somebody caught a hold of that tweet and said, hey, why don't we boycott Urban Outfitters? Isn't that horrible? And then this started a bit of momentum for people retweeting and this protest sort of element. On the 27th, basically 48 hours later, Urban Outfitters had recognized that there was getting some, because they were listening and there's some momentum being gained, and they posted on their Twitter page saying, yep, we recognize that there's this discussion going on, we'll get back to you. A day later, they actually put up a refute of this claim on their website. And then the following day, they then readdressed the Twitter community where most of this sort of activity was happening. But was it too late? Well, on the 27th, within 48 hours of this protest thing happening, it started to trend globally, this whole accusation. And it went viral. It was gone. It impacted and started to spread not only from their Twitter presence, but to Facebook. And as we know, Facebook activity is 10 to 1 to Twitter at the moment. And then it got picked up by the broader social web. Miley Cyrus got on the bandwagon, and she thought it was, this is a horrible thing. So it affected their search engine results. So this is an example that says, maybe haven't heard about this activity within the last 48 hours, but I'm going to search for where my nearest Urban Outfitters location is because I want to buy some jeans. And then I get hit with this in my search engine results. All this negative sentiment. So for me, this is just a really good example of that speed of thought of I guess, how quickly things can spread. It's a good idea, not to underestimate the power of tribes, as those are the people within those influencing pockets. If you have customers, obviously social media matters because people are actually out there participating. But the other thing too is people love a cause. So in your listening environment, if people are picking up on this, that's what stimulates the viral activity. So where the lesson here is Urban Outfitters' initial approach should have been to engage at that first point within Twitter, to basically have a response to actually that addresses the situation but satisfies all those users, so that stops the global trending. And that's getting back to that participation framework and having the ability to go, oh, this is happening, that you don't actually have to go through all the gatekeepers in your organization to get something out there. You have empowerment within a limited approach to shut these things down before they explode. So my second case study is around Microsoft Australia's approach to Twitter and Facebook. So they use a hybrid model, which basically at its core is on their Facebook page. Interesting enough, I just put at the top, this is actually a presence for all of their major brands, but it focuses around Windows 7. It's a hybrid model where people and users go there to talk about their love for the product, to talk about their challenges with the product, but also to ask about product information across updates around Internet Explorer 9, Windows Phone, etc. And it's also an area where Mac users go up there and talk about how iPhone is so much better, etc. And they've actually got a number of presences. So they've got house rules, which is again back to this kind of framework. So you want to have conversations flowing and not look like you're heavily moderating and deleting everything. But you need to have some context around what it is and give people a bit of a transparent understanding that if they see things deleted, it's because that person used profanity or etc. So, you know, and that's very welcomed within and accepted within the social media environment within Facebook. But what it does is, again, it gives that transparency and a bit of I guess a substance for you to delete things. There's also another tab that they use, which is a product tab. So obviously they look at it as trying to sell stuff. And then there's a promotional tab. And this one was really interesting because they've got a initiative called the Social Review. So Microsoft is partnered with Telstra. And Telstra have a corporate blog called Telstra Exchange. So what this does is this shows you this collaborative approach that the social web can do. So obviously people can go off to Telstra's site and engage there and then come back within Facebook, and it pushes it out there. This is where you get more involved with product information. Now, it does act to stimulate brand conversations as we see at the top. Again, people talking about, so Microsoft was talking about some new product releases, and then fans were actually engaging, saying, yeah, that was great. However, sometimes they didn't really respond to negative sentiment, etc. I think that was a missed opportunity in this particular situation, because again, it was left hanging, and that was quite visible. However, they do actively respond to the customer care aspects. So these are examples of people asking about product information, when something is going to be released, etc. And then they're participating in those conversations. So it's kind of an interesting example because they're pushing, they're using it as a promotional channel to drive brand development, not maybe engaging with the negative sentiment from that side, but they're definitely addressing people's concerns or questions around the product. And the same goes for their Twitter presence. So they obviously have a team that's actually dedicated to interpreting those, and they have a specific plan. Now, Microsoft there could have just said, look, what we're going to do is if there is any negative comments, we choose to leave them there. We're not going to delete them to show transparency, but we're not going to necessarily engage to get drawn into a negative conversation that could happen. Again, that's really up to, I guess, yourself as marketers to figure out what you wanted to do in that side. And again, it does acknowledge brand love. So this is driving and trying to create those brand loyalists into advocates. So somebody said they love the product, and they've actually gone in there and said, hey, that's fantastic, great. So hopefully they're going to stimulate more people to talk about that. Yeah, and again, it participates. So now the last one is, again, something that's I thought that was a really clever idea, but there's a bit of a but on it. So Purina Friskies is obviously a cat food out of the US. This campaign hasn't really come to Australia as yet, but I think it's pretty cool. So that was, for me, it was kind of cool because they've obviously recognized that YouTube is people love to share cat videos. Cats playing piano, cats talking like dogs, it's all cats. So YouTube is a perfect match for them, but how could they actually, look at different touch points and get some engaging branded content out there to then get some viral activity? So again, the concept, looking at through all of our digital channel, our various touch points, they created obviously an iPad app. And that was obviously put into the App Store where people actually do search for product information to see if they have an app. So it's another type of search tool. Then they, rather than actually going through a huge above-the-line campaign, they went, let's actually talk about this app and promote the app through YouTube by having this video that shows the activity. However, interesting enough, great idea. Did they actually think about what their vulnerable weak spot potentially could be this great idea? And I bet everybody in this room was kind of going, oh, that's great. And then they went, oh, wait a minute. iPad's $1,000. Why don't I let my cat scratch it? And that's exactly what happened. So people started to go, what are you doing? So even a great idea still has some type of vulnerability. So people started to talk about it. They tried to mitigate it by, obviously they had a supporting microsite, and they put a bit of blurb on the bottom saying, it's not going to affect it, cat's claws aren't going to scratch it. But if you have an iPad screen, they'll probably hack into that. Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously chatter, again, off of YouTube, because YouTube, most people will participate and through this. So as we know, you can basically share and like something through YouTube, and then it gets passed through to your Twitter or Facebook feeds. So again, people started posting it through Facebook, and this is their Facebook page. So people were actually talking about that it's bad, but they didn't really have the opportunity, so I thought they missed the opportunity to go in there, because if they're truthful in saying it's not going to hurt your iPad, then if they started to actually comment aggressively around that, they could turn that sentiment around and then unlock even more of this viral aspect. One of again, the power of social media is as people started to like this, and because it was such an innovative, creative, big idea, it started to hit the blogosphere, and people were talking about this and posting it on their various blog sites, etc. So when people were searching, so I left actually the search results at the top, but if you search Purina, iPad, YouTube, the entire thing is just flooded with Purina. So you're getting some extra value out of that. So I guess for me, the key points here is that this campaign was successful in its approach of getting all the touch points integrated together, and then driving also through that effectiveness for search engine optimization. There's a bit of a bump in the road with this unanticipated sort of negative sentiment, but it's always going to happen. All you can really do is plan for something that you don't know, but actually if you have that framework, you can probably get around figuring out what you can do. Making your approach to it better doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to solve it, though.